Hello and welcome back to the Pitchside Podcast. I'm your host, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these podcast episodes that you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcasts or any other platform. And of course, follow us on social media. I'm at Site BSB on Twitter, Pitchside Pod on Instagram, and help us of course on our way to our first K. Your support is very important to us. Help us. And you're welcome. Join us episode 128. Kicking off with the FA Cup semi-final, and there will be no quadruple for Manchester City as their dreams were crushed by Chelsea. 1-0 they lose in the semi-final. Of course, Chelsea going to the fourth final in the last 5 years. That's quite the stat for them. They lost in 2017. Against Arsenal. In 2018 they won against United. In 2020 they lost to Arsenal, and now this is the fourth, and potentially there will be either Leicester City of course or Southampton. Let's start with Chelsea of course. Let's give them all the praise in the world. By the way, they're really becoming a disciplined side under Tommy Tuchel. It's quite a transition really from the start that they were at the start of the season under Frank Lampard, the shambolic sort of almost every week in a shape kind of team under Frank Lampard. No practically stable system, no practically stable lineup and all of that. But now Tommy Tuchel, albeit he rotates the squad, obviously, for clear and obvious reasons, he doesn't really make the same amount of quote-unquote overthinking or over-tinkering with the shape of the side that Frank Lampard used to be doing. They played really better than Man City, I would say, in the game overall, particularly in the first half. They started super strong, and since the first 10 minutes it was clear that Man City were pretty tired and Chelsea were really solid at the back, and they were putting some solid performance in the back. City were playing a high line. Clearly, they would not be changing their system or their way of playing, but Guardiola changed the system. He put on a pure striker and Gabriel Jesus, and guess what? It didn't work. Man City couldn't really focus. De Bruyne was injured midway through the first half, and that was, or early on in the second half, and that was quite the blow for them. They were exploited from the right-hand side in particular with that high line with Timo Werner's pace and Hakim Ziyech pace. Timo Werner, I thought, had a great game comparatively to what he used to have, for most of the season so far. Hakim Ziyech was tremendous in the pressing, in the way he was moving, playing as this, false nine kind of thing with Mount and Werner moving off of him in those pockets of space. Mason Mount as well, proving that he's so crucial for that Chelsea setup. And there was two actions that were similar to the goal that was eventually scored from Chelsea, of course, with Werner, breaking in on the right hand side of City's defence and giving the ball to Hakim Ziyech. The first one was a chalked off goal for offside. The second one was dealt with by the defence, and the third one was in the back of the net. I mean, a couple of weird notes really about this game. I thought City looked tired and exhausted. Maybe that's not a weird idea. That's a pretty logical idea to see City, tired and exhausted after a sort of a marathon kind of schedule, and they still have some big games to play ahead. Of course, they still have games in the league. They still have the final of the EFL Cup against Tottenham, Champions League ties against PSG. I mean, you cannot say that Man City fielded a B team. I think aside from Zach Steffen, they pretty much fielded a first team kind of side. De Bruyne was there, Sterling almost becoming a B team of the season, but still, he's a really good player. And, Man City were really unable to muster a lot of effort. I mean, 3 shots on target is the same as Chelsea. They had more possession expectedly. Eventually, they became more in control of the game in the second half after the goal, of course. But overall, they couldn't muster a lot of things, and the change of system obviously couldn't suit them, despite the fact that they have the quality of the players to do that. Chelsea, again, back to them. They were really disciplined. They managed the game so well after scoring, and they defended superbly now for the rest of the game after the goal. Overall, Chelsea deserve to go through. Again, Thomas Tuchel proving that his side is really disciplined, and after 4 matches trying to beat Guardiola with Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga, finally he manages to beat him, goes to the final. And Chelsea now have a chance to go and win the FA Cup and, a potential to win the Champions League. And this match could be a final of the Champions League as well. But for the moment, it's an FA Cup semi-final. We're not going to get carried away. As far as Man City are concerned, yes, the quadruple has been dashed. There's no quadruple this season for Man City, but nobody was asking them to win a quadruple. Nobody was expecting them to do it. Like, everybody was, you know what, it's possible. It's very possible. Man City have the squad, have the strength, the quality to do it, have the coach to do it. But nobody was asking for it. Nobody was saying, you have to win the quadruple or it's a must. I mean, to be fair, they could end up only winning one trophy this season from those highs of thinking about quadruple, but they showed enough quality this season to warrant the reality of that dream, to really make that dream achievable of some sorts to reach the quadruple and to win all of those 4 titles. Now one of them is gone, 3 are left, the Premier League is almost in the bag, but of course the big test, the big judgment measure for Guardiola is going to be the Champions League. Because to be fair, if he doesn't win the Champions League, I'm going to feel like the whole sort of run for Guardiola with Manchester City has been a bust. A big bottle job from Guardiola. Whether he wins the Champions League whether he wins the Premier League or he doesn't, the Champions League is going to still be the metric, is going to still be the judging measure for his success at the club. And if he wins it, well, fine, he got there. Eventually, after a lot of spending, he got there. But if he doesn't get there, maybe there will be even questions about his future. And he just, re-signed a contract with the club until 2023. So there's really not an issue in the Premier League. Again, the whole issue is winning the Champions League. For Chelsea, back to them, of course, the winners, they should be getting all the praise for being disciplined. They have a chance. I would give them a solid 50% against Real Madrid in the Champions League. They could really do it. They could really go out and frustrate Real Madrid going forward, and they could break them down, with the pace and trickery they have it. And certainly with the improvements in the midfield, certainly when they know how to get the ball under pressure against a side like Man City, you expect them to really be able to do the same against a side like Real Madrid, who do not have it in their genes to play high and to just press high with a lot of number of people. It's just about the decision making. And I think if Tony Tuchel sorts out his front 3, he knows who's going to be the 3 playing against Real Madrid, or the 3 be playing overall, like in the season, in any competition, he would be really good. I think it would be really good to go. Congratulations for Chelsea. Of course, the second semi-final is going to be played on Sunday between Leicester City, and Southampton. You got to think that Chelsea are going to be favourites in this one, but of course, it's a final of a cup, so you don't know what's going to be happening. And I really have a strong feeling, for some reason, that Southampton are going to be going through, and they're going to be winning it for some reason. But again, we'll wait and see what's going to be happening. From an FA Cup semi-final to a Copa del Rey final, I'm talking about Barcelona, who smashed Athletic Bilbao 4-0 to win the Copa del Rey 2021. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about in this game. In terms of the game itself, nothing really to talk about. It was really a tale of the 2 halves. Complete domination of Barcelona. They couldn't score in the first half, and they, were ultra efficient in the second. I think Bilbao were really tired and jaded. They only started moving forward after the 4th goal. I mean, in the space of 11 minutes between the 60th and the 71st, Barcelona made the damage. 4 goals to 0. De Jong had a goal and assist. Messi had 2 goals and all of that. So it was quite a great performance, I think, for Barcelona. A vindicating kind of win for Barcelona and for Ronald Koeman in particular, who has been under serious criticism, under strong criticism this season since the start of it. The doubters, they were on his back since day one with Barcelona, and with the whole situation of the club, the debt and all of that. The problems that they had early on in the season with the players and with Messi almost leaving and all of that. They came a long way from there, and they have a chance to win a local double, which is going to be quite the achievement. Like, it is going to be some achievement for Koeman to make that happen. Barcelona, I thought this was a vindication again for them as well. The players, the improvements that they had in the system, the change in the system and all of that. And they definitely deserve to win this trophy. It felt like this was Barcelona, proper Barcelona performance. And again, the form as of late has been tremendous for them, aside from a Classico, of course. They have been in a tremendous form. They're still, of course, in the league. They're playing. They won the Copa. So it definitely looks like the right time for Barcelona to improve. It was, I think, the right moment for Barcelona. It felt right. And certainly a Copa del Rey win is going to vindicate them really to maybe improve their season and improve the judgment of their season overall. I mean, if they don't win the league, I don't think that nobody's going to say it's a disastrous season, because the fact that they end up in the top 4 is going to be great for them. And yes, I'm saying that because early on in the season, people were saying Barcelona maybe go out of the top 4, maybe they play in the Europa League, maybe they don't make it in the Champions League. But they made it in the Champions League, and finally they found themselves actually playing for the title, competing for the title. They still have some important games heading on into the future, obviously. In a couple of weeks' time is going to be them versus Atletico Madrid in the Camp Nou, so that's going to be very defining for where the league is going to go. And overall, Koeman should be feeling happy about himself, about the team. Again, I was one of his critics, really. He didn't know what to do early on in the season, didn't have a proper shape about him, tried, a 4-3-3, tried the 4-2-3-1, and now I think it's pretty settled in the 3-4-2-1, and he finds it really, really successful. And it is really successful looking at it critically, really, with Barcelona. I mean, I cannot have a lot to say about this side, again, who came a long way from the early goings of the season, the early awes of the season, the early problems, to now winning a Copa del Rey, and they have the potential to win the league. And I really give them a stronger chance in winning the league, because I can see Real Madrid being exhausted, dropping points here and there between the end of the season. Atletico Madrid as well, they're not exactly stable, they can shoot themselves in the foot quite easily, and Barcelona could creep in from behind, and with this momentum generated from this win, they could be really in to close in on the title of La Liga, and they could snatch it from the capital in the last moments. And this could be pretty interesting end of the season for Ronald Koeman, who, again, congratulations for them on the great work they did, and they completely and thoroughly deserved their Copa del Rey win. Turning our attention now to the Bundesliga, and, quite frankly, the story about the Bundesliga isn't exactly the games or the results or anything like that. The result or the biggest story from the Bundesliga is Hansi Flick's announcement after the Wolfsburg versus Bayern Munich game. Wolfsburg versus Bayern Munich game, of course, ended 3-2 for Bayern. It was a typical 2020-2021 season victory for Bayern, if that is a word I can coin or I can use, because Bayern felt at their usual sort of average self this season against Wolfsburg, but they had enough in them to score 3 goals past Wolfsburg. 2 of them I thought were the goalkeeper's mistake. They could have done better to save them, and of course the third goal was a proper teamwork from Bayern, ending up with a beautiful finish from Jamal Musiala, who had a brace on the day, and the guy could be the new Muller, really. But definitely, Hansi Flick's announcement after the game overshadowed everything about it. He announced officially, or not officially leaving, but he said that he has the desire to terminate his contract this season, and after weeks and weeks and weeks of doubt about his future at the club, the problems reported with Salihamidzic and all of that, after I think the European exit, he clearly made up his mind and said he's not comfortable with the side, he wants to work anymore, and he wants to go to coach the German national team. That is quite clear intention where he wants to go. The clear next destination for Hansi Flick is going to the German national team. There's not really a lot of options left for him to really use. Definitely, again, the importance, I think, of this is that the fact that is going to give time to buy and think about the next coach. Nagelsmann is suggested, Massimiliano Allegri is suggested, a couple of left field shouts like Erik ten Hag, for example, just eliminated from the Europa League, could have been a good shout out, really. He was a youth coach in Bayern, and he knows the system really well, so it might be really surprising to not be surprising to see him take the job. But the thing is, there might be some discussions held again with Hansi Flick. He might, modify his decisions, but from the looks of it, he doesn't want to. He won't do that because clearly he's not in he's on the right mentality, really, to just continue working with Salihamidzic, and it looked like there is a lot of tension under the surface bubbling between them and the club, and this is more of a, the power struggle that Bayern have at the moment with who's going to be the board standing with and all of that. It's just going to make Flick a little bit exhausted, a little bit tired, so he decided, you know what, I want to terminate my contract. Obviously, there will be negotiations over the next couple of weeks, maybe to try and convince him to stay, maybe try and convince him with a new plan to try and lure him in and to stay for one more season, maybe try to give him a little bit more control over what he wants with the club, because that's what apparently the reports suggesting, that he doesn't have control of the club or the players that he wants to. Salihamidzic is doing all the work and all of that. Definitely kind of interesting situation to see, but mostly it looks like Flick leaving and he's joining the German national team after Joachim Löw leaves post-Euros. For Wolfsburg, on the other hand, of course, they won't be really worried about that top 4 spot despite the loss, and that is because Borussia Mönchengladbach gave them a good gift by defeating Eintracht Frankfurt 4-0. It was, it was a shocking performance, I would say, from Frankfurt, and I really don't know what is wrong. What is the link between these sides losing against their next employers? Adi Hütter is, of course, going to be the next coach of Borussia Mönchengladbach. It was announced early on in the week last week that he would be the next coach of Borussia Mönchengladbach. Here he is. He loses against them 4-0. I mean, it feels almost suspicious. But I don't know what is it in the Bundesliga and announcing these kind of situations early on. Like, they announced Marco Rose going to Dortmund in the middle of the season. They announced Upamecano leaving Leipzig, joining Bayern as well a couple of months ago. So it's quite an interesting situation, really. And, it distracts the players, it distracts the coach, and certainly distracted Adi Hütter and Eintracht Frankfurt to the point where they lost 4-0, and they didn't have the greatest of games, really, against Borussia Mönchengladbach, despite the fact that they had a lot of possession and they had the opportunities to match. But Borussia Mönchengladbach were the most dangerous, of course, by far. Although Mönchengladbach, I don't think they have a good shout in the top 4, but definitely this result for Frankfurt, you couple that with the result of Wolfsburg, are going to help other sides, of course, trying to get into the top 4. Those sides, of course, are Borussia Dortmund and Bayer Leverkusen. Speaking of Bayer Leverkusen, they defeated FC Köln 3-0. Quite the comfortable victory in the end for Bayer Leverkusen and for Hannes Wolf. 3-0. The goals were scored by Moussa Diaby and Leon Bailey, having a brace on the day, and this could be a good result for Bayer Leverkusen if they take advantage of it and might make a late push for a top 4 spot, of course, later on in the season. Elsewhere, Union Berlin defeated Stuttgart 2-1, and of course, Augsburg drawn against Arminia Bielefeld 0-0, and Freiburg smashed Schalke 4-0, and officially Schalke are now down to the second tier of the Bundesliga. That's quite a sad day for Schalke 04. I mean, hopefully they return pretty quickly to the Bundesliga, because they're a side, again, I personally like and I personally have a very soft spot for, and I want to see in the Bundesliga. I grew up watching them in the Bundesliga in some glorious heydays, the likes of Jefferson, Farfan and all of that. I want to really watch them in the Bundesliga once more, and hopefully they would make it there. Of course, on Sunday, definitely is going to be the rest of the round, with Borussia Dortmund hosting Werder Bremen, and of course, Mainz versus Hertha Berlin game being postponed until another date for health-related reasons. Before going on to the Premier League and finishing off the episode, let's make a quick round to Italy and the Serie A. 4 games. They're pretty much uninteresting, really. Top, bottom of the table to middle of the table kind of games. Udinese with 10 men defeated Crotone 2-1. Technically not exactly 10 men for the 90, because Rodrigo de Paul was sent off in the 90th minute. So they made the job before he got sent off. Rodrigo de Paul scored the 2 goals of the game for Udinese, of course, and semi-equalised for Crotone in between the 68th minute. 2-1 it ends for Udinese. Sampdoria managed to defeat Hellas Verona 3-1 at home. Of course, quite a comfortable victory for them as well. Sassuolo with the same result, managing to defeat Fiorentina, and Cagliari turning a 3-1 down into a 4-3 up, and scoring twice in the space of 3 minutes in the additional time to win the game against Parma in a sort of direct head-to-head clash in the bottom of the table. It's 18th versus 19th, and Cagliari came out on top. Finishing off with the Premier League, of course, and 2 games took place yesterday. Newcastle United have, put a dent in the armour for West Ham's top 4 spot dreams as they beat them 3-2. They went 2-0 up thanks to an Issa Diop own goal, a 41st minute Joe Linton goal, of course. West Ham finished the first half without a man. Craig Dawson was sent off. 36 minutes, and credit to West Ham really for making a comeback even with 10 men. 73rd minute goal from Issa Diop, who fixed his mistake from the goal. Then you have Jesse Lingard, of course, on fire with West Ham at the moment, scoring from the penalty spot in the 80th minute. And you think to yourself, you know what, West Ham are going to make a final push to win the game, but it wasn't. It was Newcastle making the final push to win the game, and the 82nd minute goal from Joe Willock coming in from Arsenal on loan, scoring for West Ham, or for Newcastle against West Ham, making it 3-2 for the Pontine side. Newcastle now with 35 points in 15th. They really securing themselves. They really making this late push to secure themselves from relegation as far as Steve Bruce's side is concerned, and I think this is the wrong time for collapse as far as West Ham United. This is not the time to collapse for David Moyes after the great season they had. And I know they don't have the deepest squad. They have a lot of injuries in important, places. They have injury almost in every department, but definitely not the time to collapse. They still have 6 games in the Premier League, and they have big games coming as well. They have Chelsea coming next week in the Premier League, so that's going to be quite a great derby to watch, and it's going to be defining really how the top 4 are going to be shaping. Liverpool are going to be playing, of course, behind them. They might have a chance to steal, to go joint 5th with West Ham, or joint 4th really with West Ham before Chelsea play their game in hand, so it's going to be quite interesting how this is going to game play out. I mean, Arsenal could win and, could make a late push for a top 4 spot. I mean, it's going to be interesting really. It's always enticing, the top 4 battles in the Premier League, and this season is getting even more enticing, in particular with the way the standings are set. West Ham, Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, and Everton even are involved in this battle for this for the top 4 spots. One of them might even steal Leicester City's 3rd spot, depending on what's going to be happening in the rest of the week. And of course, I don't see West Ham calling it a disaster if they don't make it to the Champions League. Nobody asked them to make it to the Champions League. Nobody asked them to be in the top 4. They end up there, and they end up with a chance to go into the Champions League and make some history, and they won't really say no to that. They won't really miss the opportunity to try and do that. But obviously, it might get to them the squad depth that they lack really, and the amount of injuries that is creeping in with maybe some sort of naivety, I would call it, and experience in dealing with the top 4 kind of situations. They're not there frequently, really. So it might in the end be the collapse of West Ham, but wait and see. Could they pick themselves up in the next couple of games or so? If they do so, I give them a strong chance of sneaking in into the top 4 and making history, really, in the Premier League. Another team that's going to be making history, or made history, is Sheffield United. They're going down officially to the second division, of course, of the Championship, with 14 points at the moment. I made a bet with someone that they won't get past the 20 points this season, and it looks like I'm winning that bet, really. Officially relegated. They don't have anything really to make up for themselves. 6 games left, 18 points left. They have, the closest place out of relegation is Burnley with 33, so it looks like the 3 that we have at the moment, Fulham, West Brom and Sheffield United, are going to be the 3 relegated. Sheffield United officially done. West Brom and Fulham is just, delayed for the time being, and, just waiting for that opportunity, waiting for that time, when they're going to be relegated from the Premier League. And it looks like, again, it will be that situation for Sheffield United after a first season that was really, really great. They're back to the Championship, and hopefully they make it quickly. And obviously, speaking of the Championship and relegation, Norwich City officially promoted to the Premier League once again. That is quite the achievement. Congratulations for them. They're back to the highlights of the Premier League and the defeat against Wolverhampton, who are in a warm zone in the table at the moment, 12 at 41 points. The sole goal coming in from Willian Jose in the 59th minute. That's it for this episode. Thanks for listening / watching. I was your boy, the HOD of the BSB. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this podcast, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast, of course. Listen to those on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. And follow us on social media and at BSB on Twitter, PitchSidePod on Instagram. And until next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.